This episode of the Cult Popture podcast was brought to you by our Patreon. If you want to tell us which films we should watch, get up to 2 extra exclusive podcasts a month, give us something to talk about in the post-credit scenes at the end of each episode, or even contribute to the discussion in the episode itself, then please consider joining the cult and donating at www.patreon.com/cultpopture. Ho, 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 hoes.
Ooh.
A little bit sexy for your December morn. It's Christmas time, which means I've currently got to pretend like I didn't eat bad lunch meat today, and I'm not feeling sick.
Well, what's more Christmassy than that?
Than bad lunch meat. Well, I'll tell you what's more Christmassy than that, Richard. A movie series which, in very broad terms, is about Christmas. And I'm talking maybe the broadest terms you've ever used.
It's Christmas adjacent.
It's got snow in it and reindeer and came out around Christmas. That's enough. That's enough. That is enough. Like, that's enough to make it Christmas enough for this podcast. This podcast being the Cult Popture podcast, and specifically film franchise Fortnights on the Cult Popture podcast, where once every fortnight, Richard over there and
once a fortnight,
myself, AJ, we watch and discuss a different film franchise. Sometimes it's chosen at random, sometimes it's voted on by our patrons over at patreon.com/cultpopture, and that is what it is. This week we asked people on our Patreon to suggest Christmas adjacent franchises, because there's not a lot of Christmas franchises left for us to cover, and the winner was Frozen, the 2 Frozen movies. Are you excited to talk about Frozen with me?
As excited as I've ever been to talk about Frozen.
Interesting. Okay, that's a good way to put it. I hope you weren't being sarcastic, because I think that's a good energy.
I've never been more excited to talk about Frozen.
It's still just not that excited.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like, how like I don't talk about Frozen that often.
Yeah. Well, you would be statistically an anomaly then, because a lot of people talk about Frozen seemingly all the time.
People don't shut up about it, frankly.
Disney's Frozen franchise is nothing short of a modern cultural phenomenon. So much so that I probably don't need to tell you, the listener, that.
But you need to tell me, so.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you don't know. You don't talk about it enough. Starring the voice talents of Kristen Bell, Idina Menzel, Josh Gad, and Jonathan Groff, among others, the 2 Frozen films sit firmly as the second and third highest grossing animated films of all time. The first film did actually maintain that top spot for 5-6 years, beaten only by the 2019 remake of The Lion King, which ironically is commonly referred to as the live-action Lion King. So, and you can have an argument that says Frozen 2 is the top grossing animated film of all time, I guess, with that logic. Frozen feels like it represents a lot of things to a lot of different people, Richard, whether you're a parent whose toddler has watched the movie 4,000 times, or a Disney adult given a second chance. While preceded by Tangled and Wreck-It Ralph in terms of the so-called Disney revival era, which, like the Renaissance, Silver Age, Golden Age, they're calling the 2010s to now the revival era. Frozen certainly feels like it's the face of the revival era, more so than the others, with characters so recognizable and profitable that the 2 heroines, Queen Elsa and Princess Anna, are not included. This is my favorite Frozen trivia. They are not included in the Disney Princess merchandising lineup because Frozen as an IP outgrosses the Disney Princess IP by such a degree that it would damage its own reputation to feature Elsa and Anna on lunchboxes and notebooks next to Snow White or Pocahontas.
The idea that people are like, oh, I love Elsa, but I hate Jasmine.
Well, more so that Frozen sells enough that they don't need to add it to this purely, like, because the Disney Princess thing is purely merchandise.
Yeah.
The only movies they appear in, I guess, is Ralph Breaks the Internet. But yeah, so not technically Disney princesses, but not Disney princesses.
Yeah.
Frozen.
They're not part of the princess line.
The first film is based on the Hans Christian Andersen story, The Snow Queen, making this our second comparatively squeaky clean Disney adaptation of a Hans Christian Andersen story that we've covered on the podcast this year.
After Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
The Forgetting Sarah Marshall and The Little Mermaid. So the first film, I'll go for a bit before you're gonna be like, he's forgotten to ask me what I think of the films.
Right.
I haven't.
Okay.
You need to trust me.
I don't care.
So Frozen, the first Frozen came out in 2013. It was directed by Chris Buck and Jennifer Lee. Do you know what it has on Rotten Tomatoes?
91.
90, so very close. And can you tell us, and presumably none of the parents that listen to our show will need to know this, can you tell me what Frozen's about?
So Frozen, really it's a story of two sisters. So you've got Elsa, who's the ice princess or the snow queen, and then Anna, her little sister. At a young age, Elsa is... because of her powers, they lock her away in the highest room of the tallest tower, and then, essentially, when she, what's the term they use? Her like not
emancipation.
Yeah, not her like coming out thing, but what's what we do for that ball that's in Borat? A debutante ball kind of thing.
A debutante ball.
Yeah, she's debuting. But it's like her coronation. She reveals her powers accidentally and traps their kingdom Arendelle in an infinite winter. And then her sister, she disappears. And then her sister Anna goes on a trek with a mountain man, and her new fiance, who she agreed to marry after having just met him. And a lovable little snowman named Olaf, and they go on a quest to reverse the thing. And there's a whole thing about like Anna gets cursed, or she's cursed, and the only thing that can break it is an act of true love. And then so you think that it's going to be her husband or her future husband, but then it turns out he's actually the bad guy, and the act of love is Anna saving Elsa. So it's like an act of true love between sisters, which is a subversion of
a seldom represented form of love in these kinds of movies. A very subversive Disney movie. A lot of people regard Frozen as being quite feminist for Disney, which is you're still qualifying that with like, they're usually shit at this, but this one's actually pretty good. It's also worth noting that this movie was a long time coming. For all its various successes it enjoyed after it came out, it certainly trekked through the mud to get to eventually releasing. The earliest version of a Disney Snow Queen adaptation dates back to 1937, before Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, famously the first animated Disney film, where a plan to make a live-action biopic of Hans Christian Andersen was in co-development with MGM, who planned to shoot the live-action portion, with Disney animating several of Christian Andersen's stories to be incorporated into the narrative, including The Little Mermaid, The Little Match Girl, The Steadfast Tin Soldier, Thumbelina, The Ugly Duckling, The Red Shoes, The Emperor's New Clothes, and The Snow Queen. It's somewhat interesting then that of all those planned, only The Little Mermaid, The Emperor's New Clothes, and The Snow Queen were eventually adapted as feature films, in completely different eras as well, with 1989, 2002, I want to say, Emperor's New Groove, and 2013 for Frozen. There is also a Disney short film of The Little Match Girl, which came out in 2006, I think, and The Steadfast Tin Soldier appears in Fantasia, and according to our good friends at IMDb Trivia, aspects of The Ugly Duckling were adapted into Lilo and Stitch, which is a generous reading of Lilo and Stitch, I think. Because not really. Like, what would you say the quintessential part of the Ugly Duckling story is?
Is that he ends up being hot, so it's fine.
is that he ends up being a swan, which is not in Lilo and Stitch at all. Various versions of the Snow Queen, eventually renamed Anna and the Snow Queen, went into early production several times over the decades, including a version which was going to be made by Pixar and a version which was going to be traditionally 2D animated until the success of Tangled allowed for the now gender-neutrally titled Frozen to be what we know it as today. So there's a brief rundown of like the treks that this movie went on to get made.
Now, I believe you're forgetting something, AJ. You haven't asked me what I thought of it.
Well, before we get it, I thought maybe we could just knock out the introductions for each film and then talk about the series as a conglomerate. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
So Frozen 2 came out in 2019, also directed by Chris Buck and Jennifer Lee. What does this have on Rotten Tomatoes?
Like 84.
78, which is one of those things where it's like it's lower than the first one, but if the first one was rated 78, you'd be like, that's pretty good. Sounds like it's a good time. What's Frozen 2 about? What is it
question.
about? Because I've seen this movie twice now, once for the podcast and once before that when it came out, and both times I was left being like, am I dumber than a child and can't follow the basic plot of Frozen 2?
I would say don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to.
That sounds like a song that'll be in Frozen 3. That's like the title of a song. Yeah. Don't ask questions. Something Olaf would sing. Detract from the narrative. Yeah. Anyway, go.
So our trio, or quartet, really. Anna, Elsa, Kristoff.
Quintet if you include
Olaf,
Sven.
And Sven. The quartet was to include Sven. I've forgotten about Olaf.
Sven is the reindeer.
Yeah.
Kristoff's reindeer.
They travel. So Elsa keeps on hearing this angelic voice. And what does that sound like, AJ?
Best part of the series.
You just completely cut out. Like your microphone couldn't handle that, and it just completely cut out. I can't wait to listen back on Monday and see.
It sounds angelic. It sounds heavenly. I did it too. You cut out as well. No. Can't wait to hear it.
Okay, yeah. So she keeps hearing this voice, and she's attracted to it, and so she, goes on a quest. And then they go to like an autumn kingdom, is their whole...
Sort of. It's an enchanted forest. I guess it's autumn, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like... Yeah, it's like the film wants it to be like, that was the winter one, this is the autumn one kind of thing. Like, even just an aesthetic kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all about like there was this like whole conflict with their parents like decades ago, and their grandfather, and... Yeah, this is encroaching on what I think of the film territory, but this is a very odd film, and like in some ways one of the oddest sequels we've ever covered.
Interesting,
but yeah, it's kind of an aimless film. You said you didn't have like really follow it, but it's like because you watch a movie that you're not really following, and you're like, okay, why are they here? Like they're in a scene, and you're like, okay, why are they here? And it's like you watch this movie, and you're like, okay, why is this scene happening? It's kind of just like because they just went to a different room, or like they went to a different part of the forest. Like it's not a super motivated plot, and there isn't as much of like a through line, because the first is very much a quest. You can tell how close they're getting to something.
Yeah, sure.
Whereas this is like until over an hour into the film, there's no real villain as well for the movie is kind of the common thing. The only real antagonist for the film is their grandfather who died years ago and who did something bad, but years before they were born.
So we definitely are. Consider what you thought of this movie territory encroached. But it may not be hard to follow them, but it's certainly more complicated than the first one, and in a way that feels maybe a little too advanced for children. So maybe my brain is like in child movie mode, and so every time I watch
it should be in adult movie mode.
It should be in adult movie mode. So it was once pretty uncommon for mainline Disney animation to get a theatrically released sequel. And the revival era is one of, other than The Rescuers Down Under from the sequel of The Rescuers, very uncommon for theatrically released ones. You'd see it again with you'd see it a year earlier with Ralph Breaks the Internet. But yeah, Frozen 2. Obviously, I guess when a movie makes that much money, it would be stupid to not. And especially one which doesn't not deserve a sequel.
It'd be
Frozen,
fucking dumb as shit, to be honest. It would.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, Richard, which one of us is Elsa and which one is Anna?
I am Elsa.
I agree. All right, we don't need to talk about it.
Why do you think I'm Elsa?
Because you're more cynical. I'm also cynical, but I'm arguably more wide-eyed and romantic than you are.
Right. Well, what of Elsa's positive traits do I have?
You just let it go, bro. You don't hold back. You don't hold back.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what do you think of these movies? Which is your favorite and why? What's your personal journey with them? I feel like that's the real question whenever we get to this part of the podcast.
So my personal journey with Frozen is, I worked on a kids' TV show from 2015 to early 2017, and so this Frozen, the first one, had sort of by the end of the time there, it had very much passed its peak. But we did like at least 3 Frozen themed episodes while I was there. Where it was just like, what's an idea for the episode? Oh, it's Frozen. You know, we do Frozen. It was just relentless, and obviously, being anywhere in the world, you heard "Let It Go" over and over again. Like it was, it was everywhere for a long time, and I was aware of all the plot beats, but I just never saw it. I watched it for the first time about a month before Frozen 2 came out, maybe even less than that, because I wanted to go see the new one, and wanted to keep up with the latest releases and whatnot. And I sat down and watched Frozen, and by that point it had become very cool to hate Frozen. It's one of those things where it's cool to call it overrated. It's cool to prefer Tangled or Big Hero 6 or Wreck-It Ralph. And so I watched it kind of going in with, a bit of my sort of typical Elsa cynical attitude. And
of course.
And I was blown away by it. I thought it was incredible. And it was like one of these, like my signature very late to the party hot takes where, like after last year when we covered Terminator, I went to work the next day after watching Terminator 2 and just said, guys, Terminator 2 is so fucking good. And people are like, yeah, we've known it for 30 years. But yeah, I was blown away by it. I thought the animation was incredible. I thought the storyline was like subversive and original, and I thought "Let It Go" is like a top 5 Disney song of all time.
Wow.
Like truly one of the greats, and earned its place in pop culture. And I thought Olaf was hilarious and adorable, and I wanted to see more of him.
Yeah.
And then we went to see Frozen 2, and I was just kind of like, the whole time it's like, yeah, like, and it's a hard film to talk about as well. I guess we'll probably talk more in depth about the music as well at some point, but yeah, the music is also, I would say, a step down in Frozen 2.
Interesting.
But that's also, I mean, not as long to get into the public consciousness.
Yeah. No, I understand. I saw Frozen 1 late as well, but by late I mean a month after everyone else had seen it. And I was unaware. I remember being unaware of a lot of what it was about. I'd never heard Let It Go. Somehow I'd escaped Let It Go before seeing the movie.
For a month.
And so I don't know, I feel kind of immune to Frozen. I think maybe it's the oversaturation of it has just made me like unable to, like, it's blunted the edge of it. Does that make sense?
What we've actually discovered just now is that you're Elsa.
Is that I'm Elsa? Yeah. I was quite excited for Frozen 2 coming out though, because I thought the autumn aesthetic was really pretty, and when the trailer was awesome. And when I first saw that trailer, I was like, well, fuck, why am I? excited for
Yeah, I remember
Frozen
that.
2.
I quite just that you talking about that, but because the trailer for Frozen 2, if you've seen the movie and don't remember the trailer, it was like just the scene where Elsa is like running into the ocean and trying to get over the waves.
Yeah, and it just felt like it was really like seriously honoring the first one in a way.
Because it wasn't like if you're making a trailer for Frozen 2, you stick Olaf all over it. You have Sven get punched in the face and do a funny slow-mo face. But this was like, oh fuck, okay, where are they going with this? It was a lot darker.
There are similarities to this, and I'm not meaning to draw them, but like it's that Avatar Last Airbender kid seriousness, like kids movie seriousness that felt this movie was imbued with more so than the first one.
Well, you know what happened the last time a movie commentator compared a Disney movie to Last Airbender? Did not end well for them.
So when I did see Frozen 2, I was impressed by its dedication to its mythology and how seriously it took its world building. Something I maybe didn't need to do, being its target audience. But I was disappointed, and I think my opinion has softened slightly. It's gone from it's a bad movie to it's an okay movie. I think, for me. So one thing I want to talk about, and this merges the conversations of both movies together, is that there's been a lot of very obvious barely beneath the surface readings of Frozen and Elsa being like potentially a queer character. Let It Go is essentially a song about not letting society tell you can't be who you truly are, that sort of thing. And in the first movie, the king and queen are the first people to tell her conceal, don't feel. So hide your powers away, right? And in the second one, they are depicted as these long gone but pillars in Elsa and Anna's lives. They're even given famous voice actors in the second one, which they didn't have in the first one. And it's like, what do you think of the parents? What do you think of Elsa and Anna's parents? Because I think they come off pretty bad in the first one.
Yeah, well, it's like they forgot like in the second one they needed them to be characters, but they'd like forgotten that they put them in, that they were already in the first one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that they damaged their reputations by essentially asking their child if they can just not be icy, like in X-Men 2. Can you just not be a mutant? Like that sort of thing. I just thought that was interesting that the second movie tries to paint them more as like these important, benevolent kind of figures almost, whereas they're kind of homophobic subtextually.
Yeah, it's interesting. They're on the like voice acting, and it's one sort of issue I had in Frozen 2, and again it's kind of getting into the music territory, but I don't know that Idina Menzel suits Elsa.
Right.
Like watching specifically Into the Unknown. And I'd forgot that I thought this, but there was a familiar sort of thought when I watched it just like 20 minutes ago, is that like it looks like the voice doesn't look like it's coming out of Elsa. Like it doesn't actually, like I don't think her singing voice suits that character. It does for Let It Go, but for Into the Unknown, for some reason, it looks like I'm hearing the audio from one thing and watching the visuals of another thing. They just don't marry up. That is
animation.
yeah, exactly. But it's like they don't marry up for me, and it's weird. The only other time I've really experienced this, I think, is in Kung Fu Panda 3 with Bryan Cranston as Poe's father. It's just like a weird marriage of character and character design and voice.
Right. Well, Richard, when it comes to Frozen, as we're discovering now, trying to put down the foundations of the episode, it does feel a little silly to discuss almost anything other than the music. Yeah. Something which I imagine a lot of people have quite a conflicted relationship with. I don't think anyone would argue that the music is bad, but young parents across the world will have been subjected to tens of hours of Let It Go over the past 7 years. And while I am not a parent, I do live next to a kindergarten, so I've heard it. I've played it. I've heard it. And when I watched Frozen the other day, I thought of like opening my door and blasting it to give them a taste of their own medicine. So what I thought we could do, and it could be a good sort of backbone for this episode, is if we go through each of the main songs in order through both movies, and maybe just say any thoughts we have or how they relate to the plot. Use that as jumping off points to talk about certain specific things, because the first one especially is like a fucking song every 5 minutes. Like they fucking race through the first one, and then they stop. They stop. It's like Aladdin with A Whole New World being the last song in the movie. Like it's similar to that. So the first song we hear in Frozen is called Frozen Heart, which I had to play on my Chromecast to remind me what the hell this song is. It's sung by the Icemen. It's the opening song where they're like,
look down, look down.
Yeah. Beware the frozen heart.
Don't look him in the eye. I'm singing a different song. That was funny.
Which is a good introduction to the world, I think. And Frozen Heart referring to the like heart of the ice, but has a double meaning that it's about having a frozen, you're cursed with having your own heart frozen. It's all right. What do you think? Strong start to this.
Forgettable, yeah. It's very, very Les Mis inspired.
Totally. So what a lot more people will probably remember as the first song, incorrectly remember as the first song in this movie, is Do You Want to Build a Snowman? This is sung by Anna across various ages. It's a montage of her growing up. It's maybe we could sing a little bit of it for everyone, Richard.
You be Anna, I'll be Elsa.
Okay. Do you want to build a snowman? Just tell me no.
No.
What does it go away, Anna? Okay, bye. So I get this is a good. I like the song. I like the song. I think the part where she's like, talking about how she's watching the clocks go past, and then there's the shot of her going like,
yeah,
as her eyes. That struck me as like quite a nuanced piece of animation that you maybe wouldn't have been able to do in the Shrek era. Like like the sound is a hard thing to draw. I don't know. It has such a charm to it. But what confuses me about this is Elsa. So Elsa accidentally nearly kills Anna. They erase Anna's memories of Elsa's powers and then tell Elsa to stay in her room so that she can't hurt anyone. Is Elsa just in her room this entire time? This song covers 10, 12 years, I think. And I feel like Anna would just forget that Elsa even existed. Because, and then when they do see each other again after supposedly all this time, the reaction is maybe one of like, I haven't seen you in a long time, but not this fucking long, not like my entire life and I barely remember who you are. They must have like intermittently seen each other throughout this time, surely.
Yeah. It's one of those, all those things that like sounds poetic on paper, that it's like this is the first time they've seen each other in 12 years, or Janet Van Dyne was in the quantum realm for 30 years, and then it's like you wouldn't act like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Then we get the next song in the film, which is For the First Time in Forever, which is sung by Anna and Elsa. For the first time in forever, I'm gonna go outside
and be clean.
And this was I guess it's the I Want song. I guess it's the one that lays down the motivations for both the characters, and it's a fun song. What do you think of it? Do you like it?
Yeah, it's nice. It's very out there from Hunchback.
Very good. And then the next song is Love is an Open Door, sung by Anna and Hans, who is revealed to be the villain of the film. He's played by a name I can never remember.
Santino
Fontana, who's in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, a show which has a first season I really liked, and 3 more seasons I did not like at all. And I think this is maybe my favourite song in Frozen. This is Love is an Open Door! Life could be so much more with you. Fuck You by CeeLo Green. I think this is my favorite because it feels both, at the same time it feels like a classic Disney song, but it also feels like it's something new and a bit different, like it's contributing to what is a Disney song.
also there's quite a famous bit of trivia about this song.
Oh, yes.
As well, right? That to one trivia writer's opinion, or as far as they could research, this is possibly the only time in a Disney film where a character lies through song.
I forgot about that. That's so funny. Yeah, so it is lying through song, but it's also maybe I think the digivolved version of that piece of trivia, a more interesting way to phrase that same idea, is it may be the first time the hero sings a love song with the villain in a Disney film. I think that's more
That is the Greymon to the Argumon of what I said.
I really like this song. I think it's fun. I think it's cute, and I quite like Santa.
But there is also there is also a fan theory about that he's not lying in this song, and it's actually the trolls did something to him, right?
Oh, there's so many fucking fan theories about this series. There's so many. I encourage people, if they want to know more than what information is in this podcast, go read the Wikipedia pages for these two movies because they are extensive. You've got like sections.
Devil Wears Prada sort of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you've got sections that tell you when the first time Frozen aired on broadcast television in different countries.
Yeah.
Who cares? Who cares about that? Holy crap. So that's Love is an Open Door. Then we've, of course, got Let It Go, sung by Anna. And you recently said to me, Richard, you said this song is underrated.
Did I?
Very, very bold claim.
When did I say that?
You said Let It Go, if anything, is underrated. You might have said it in the Discord.
Yeah, well, people talk about it being, it's I mean, like akin to something like My Heart Will Go On, where it's like this song is fucking everywhere. Everyone's sick of it. It's become a joke at this point. And my argument is it's because it's that fucking good. Like,
right.
It actually is. And it's like, same with My Heart Will Go On. It's like they're incredible songs, and you will get sick of them. You still get sick of anything if you hear it that often. But yeah, my God, Let It Go is just like, especially like seeing it in the context of the film, and it's just a perfect fucking like musical song.
Could you give us a couple of bars?
I like when she talks about frozen fractals. I like that. How often do you hear the word fractals in a
There's I saw it today when I was reading the IMDb trivia, and it explains what a fractal is. And the IMDb trivia tells me what a fractal is. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I won't sing Let It Go because I'm sure everyone's heard it.
Let it go.
Bam, bam. I don't know. I'll concede that I could just be completely sick of the song, but this has always felt out of place to me, this song. It feels more like a pop song, like a pop ballad, not a pop song, a pop ballad, than a musical song, which is what Frozen is, a musical. And the sequence in which she sings it feels so self-contained, like a music video. And especially when she, at the end of the song, she goes, "The cold never bothered me anyway," and sort of like flirts to the camera. And it
so
feels
hot.
like
it's so hot.
It feels like a music video beat to do that, to interact with the camera that way.
Oh my God.
And I don't know, and I'll talk more.
Hottest shit I've ever seen.
There's another song I want to talk about, which is an extension of this, so I'll save it for then. But the next song, according to the soundtrack, is the completely a cappella "Reindeers Are Better Than People," sung by Christoph, which is "Reindeers Are Better Than People," and it is insane that this is the only song in the movie that they gave to Jonathan Groff. He's such a good singer.
Yeah.
And they give him like a dud, like a jokey song.
They more than make up for it in the sequel, though.
They do. We'll get to that. The second to last song in the film is "In Summer," sung by Olaf.
In Summer!
Which is very funny, but odd that it's the second to last song in the film.
What's even odder is that the last one is Fixer Upper.
The last one is Fixer Upper, sung by the Trolls. Outside of reprises, there are reprises that, at the end of the movie they sing, I think, for the first time in forever again. But, like, what a strange... Fixer Upper feels like when Frozen is re-released in 20 years, and they're like, when we've added a deleted song back into the movie, like they did with Morning Report and The Lion King. That's what Fixer Upper feels like.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a fixer-upper.
Yeah, just back on In Summer though.
Oh,
what a hilarious song.
It is hilarious.
Funny.
Yeah.
It's very
Olaf
funny.
is hilarious. My favorite Olaf part is when they fall off a cliff and then Christoph is like, oh, I just hurt my skull. And then no one's asking him, but an unprompted Olaf goes, I don't have a skull or bones. It's very funny vocal performance. And the combination of, like, you said that like, Idina Menzel doesn't seem like she fits Anna.
Yeah.
Elsa, sorry, as like her character design. The opposite is infinitely true of Josh Gad and Olaf, you know?
Yeah. It's incredible. Yeah. Fantastic. Love it. Love every second Olaf is on screen.
And
even more so in the sequel as well.
Any thoughts on Fixer Upper?
Shit, it's awful. It's the worst song in the film. It's so stupid. It's
so
stupid.
The worst song. It is the worst song in the film, but doesn't it feel like a Renaissance Disney song? More so than any of these. It feels like this is hearkening back to those movies, you know? This feels like at home in like Aladdin or
what equivalent song would be in like
I don't know.
Like Morning Report's a perfect one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because no other movies have songs like just this shit in the middle of them.
Yeah, right.
It's so bad.
Well, moving.
Like Lion King doesn't really have any duds in it. Oh, it's like the Siamese cat song or Le Poisson from The Little Mermaid.
Yeah, absolutely, it is that. There's whenever we cover musicals, we talk about how narratively songs in a musical are supposed to advance the plot, and Frozen really stretches what advancing the plot looks like, I think.
Yeah. Well, the thing that Howard Ashman
is
says about it is that like when your emotion is too big for speaking, you sing, and when it's too big for singing, you dance.
And I guess the trolls and Fixer Upper just was so emotional
about how much of a fixer upper he was. But that's why like Let It Go is just such a like perfect release.
Yeah.
Okay, Richard, shut up about Let It Go.
No, go on. Let it go. Let it go on.
Yeah, saying let it go means stop.
No, I know, but I don't want to be one of those guys who, when you're talking about Frozen, just goes, oh, just let it go, mate. And they think they're the first person to make that joke.
Yeah.
Nearly finished rewatching Lost, and I'm so sick of like I gave up on Lost. I got too lost. And it's like,
what happened to the polar bear?
You're the funniest person in the world. Yeah. Anyway, what were you saying?
The music for Frozen as well was done by Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez, which they won an Oscar for Let It Go, deservedly so, possibly one of the most deserving Oscars in the 93 years of the Academy. But the award, winning the award for Frozen, made Robert Lopez the youngest person to have achieved an EGOT, and I think the fastest to do it as well.
Wow, that's cool.
Because he also did the music for Book of Mormon. And so had worked with Josh Gad and was able to write a song specifically for Josh Gad.
Which Frozen, Let It Go is not one of them.
No, yeah, but like...
Imagine Josh Gad saying Let It Go. Frozen 2. Frozen 2, we've got another 8 songs, not including reprisals. The first is All Is Found, sung by Queen Adjuna, who's played by... I never remember her name.
Oh, Evan Rachel Wood.
Even Rachel Wood, which is sort of a lullaby. You will drown. Don't. Then we get the more celebratory opening song of the film, which is called "Some Things Never Change," sung by the main 4 characters Anna, Elsa, Olaf, and Kristoff, which goes, "Some things never change, like the feeling of your hand in mine."
Yeah, what up?
I nearly turned that into what's the song that plays in Malcolm in the Middle, like the first and last episode? I've seen better days. I've been the star of many plays. Yeah, no, not that song. I realise now that when I said the song from Malcolm in the Middle, that's obviously where everyone's mind would have gone, not to the one that only plays for the pilot and the finale. Then we've got Into the Unknown, sung by Elsa.
Into the unknown.
Into the unknown. I like. Oh my god, no. I love I think
I know
is
you
like
did.
it's
By
my
Aurora.
favorite part of the whole series, the Aurora.
No, that's the name of the artist that sings that is Aurora.
Sorry, yeah, I did know that. Yep.
No, I know, sure.
I love it, but I think it might be because I'm making fun of it. So when people say they love Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, I love Spider-Man 3, man.
But it's because you're making fun of it.
No. I love you could say that about I love The Happening.
Oh,
and when I
sure,
said I
yeah.
unironically love The Happening because it's so bad, you're like, that means you ironically love it.
It does. Yeah, I think that I like this. I like the song. The fact that I've overheard "Let It Go" makes me want to be like, I like it more than "Let It Go," but
yeah,
I don't know if that's
cool hipster like that.
No, it's not. I don't want to be cool or about Frozen.
I just am.
I don't want to have opinions on Frozen.
Into the Unknown does not do it for me.
No.
I also like each or like the big songs have like pop versions of them, which we can talk about. But yeah, this one's done by Panic at the Disco, which I was like, fucking sick that like because Brenna Urie would just go on lives and sing Disney songs, and then to be given like this massive one, and it is interesting to have a man sing it as well.
Yeah, true.
But yeah,
and a man with a very recognizable voice from a very distinct era of pop music.
But I think he had his little resurgence when he did that song with Taylor Swift. But I believe I actually just found out the other day he's been cancelled.
No shit.
Yeah, so he posted something last year on Instagram, and then just no one's heard from him since. Like it was one of these like I've been part of the problem, and people are like, oh okay,
see you then.
Yeah, and then so he's and then just he hasn't posted anything. No one knows where he is, what he's doing. He's
gone into the unknown.
He has. Yeah, so but Into the Unknown, I don't know. It to me, it just feels too much like when they wrote it, or like at that point in the movie, they're like, all right, we need to write Let It Go 2.
And
much like
Elsa
Frozen
gets
2
two songs in this movie, so they're
both trying hard to be Let It Go 2, and neither of them work for me.
Yeah. Then, and what shocks me is the next song, because it happens what feels like so much later in the film. We get When I Am Older, sung by Olaf, which is when they go into the Enchanted Forest. This is maybe it's funny, but it's the most useless song in both. It's maybe just as useless as Fixer Upper. Like I don't understand what being older has to do with the themes of Frozen 2, I guess.
But it's also like Olaf's whole thing at the start of the film is he's like, you're old, I want to be wise. And then again it just feels like, okay, well, we gave Olaf in summer, which was hilarious in the first film. Let's give him another thing about something he doesn't know much about. And it's like, okay, yeah. Again, it's just trying too hard to be a sequel to a song from the first one.
It does play after what is my favorite joke
the
in the
funniest
film,
bit of the film.
which is when Olaf is lost in the woods and he's like,
in the woods,
Elsa?
Did you
say? Sorry, we'll get to that. He's like, Elsa, Anna, Samantha? I don't even know a Samantha. And it's an incredible little improv performance by Josh Gad, and very funny.
Yeah.
And so I think I like When I'm Older slightly more than I should, because I'm riding the high of the Samantha joke from earlier.
Yeah. Also, speaking of great Olaf jokes in this, there's an incredible scene as well when he describes the plot of the first film. Which was clearly like they knew this was going to be the fan favorite, and I'm sure we'll talk about this when we get to continue the franchise, I'm sure. But it's like, this is the bit where like people are going to be walking out of Frozen 2 going on about this bit, because I'm sure it was just Josh Gad in the studio having fun. And yeah. The movie has a very cynical attitude towards the first film, which I actually kind of want to circle back. So just put that note in your notes.
Yeah. We can talk about that probably in Show Yourself. I feel like that's when that comes through.
Yeah.
Most prominently. Then we get a reprise of Reindeers Are Better Than People. Of all the songs to come back from the first film and get its own place on the soundtrack as technically a song. It's a slightly more in-depth version.
And also, so in the first song, it's only 50 seconds. In the second one, it's 26 seconds. Like, so in the third film, we're going to get like a 12-second Reindeers Are Better Than People.
I do like. I'm gonna read the lyrics for Reindeers Are Better Than People.
It's not going to take you long.
Funny. No, it won't take me long. You're right. It goes, this is from the first one. Reindeers are better than people. Sven, don't you think that's true? And then he's pretending to be Sven and goes, your people will beat you and curse you and cheat you. Every one of them's bad except you. Oh, thanks, buddy. But people smell better than reindeers. Sven, don't you think I'm right? That's once again true for all except you, which is such a great little rhyme. You got me. Let's call it a night. Good night. Don't let the frostbite bite. And then after the reprisal of that, which is technically a different song in Frozen 2,
it's on the soundtrack listed as "Reindeers are better than people" continued rather than reprised.
Yep. We go to Lost in the Woods, sung by Christoph/Jonathan Groff. And in a similar way to Let It Go, for me, I'm going to say nice things about the song, so don't interrupt me. In a similar way to Let It Go, I do feel like the song is so out of place in the movie.
Yeah, I know what you mean with this one.
However, it is also my favorite song in the franchise.
It's so good.
And I think it perfectly encapsulates my weird sort of half issues with the series, because Lost in the Woods is this great homage to like 1980s power ballads. But why is there a power ballad homage in Frozen 2?
Yeah.
Other Disney musicals, the music sounds, contained within the, like even modern, like Moana, I think has a more consistent soundtrack in terms of songs.
Because Lin-Manuel Miranda has a pretty consistent sound.
Yeah. But Let It Go, Lost in the Woods is like, how are the lyrics to those? It's like,
then I turn around and find that I am lost in the woods.
Yeah. You are my true north. I'm going to look up the...
my favorite line in this is where he's like, up till now, the next step was a question of how. I never thought it was a question of whether. It's a good line.
Who am I if I'm not your guy? Where am I if we're not together? Now I know you're my true north, 'cause I am lost in the woods. Up is down, day is night when you're not there. Yeah, I'm such a bad singer. I can't believe this is going out. But it is
lost in the woods.
I love it. And the studio version sung by Weezer, and the music video for it, they made a music video with Weezer. It's essentially a recreation of the scene in Frozen, but with God, what's his name?
Rivers
the Weezer guy.
Rivers Cuomo.
Rivers Cuomo and Kristen Bell playing Christoph and Anna. And again, it's like, I love this, but like it's such a music video placed into a film, which even more so than the first one is trying to take its like fantasy roots so seriously and be like, if nothing else, it's a serious fantasy film with jokes in it. And then you get him like, singing into a microphone that's actually a pine cone, and it's just like, I don't understand where there's no quality control isn't the right word. Branding. There's no branding control on the music in Frozen, and I think it's a very strange element to the series. I remember
because when you saw the film first, you posted a status about it, and there was commenting on it and saying like it feels like something out of Flight of the Conchords or Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Yeah,
where it's like you're dropping a genre parody, and that's what you do. And it's like there's just nothing else like it in the franchise. But my God, it's good. It's a fucking great song. It's so good. It's so good.
It's so good. I don't actually care about all this stuff.
I like
this is just worth talking about.
I know I've sung Let It Go's praises, but it's like this is probably my favorite song. But I would say Let It Go is like the best song.
Right. All right. Well, next we have "Show Yourself," sung by Elsa and Queen Iduna, a song I barely remember to the degree that I can't even do a rendition of it. I know they do again in it, but it's deeper. And it's sort of it's there like, hey, if Into the Unknown doesn't take off as the new Frozen, maybe show yourself.
Yeah, it actually is. It's like, well, let's just do two just to be safe. But
and it's sung with her exploring this frozen river
the
that's
unknown.
Been like the MacGuffin of the unknown, the
she's
veritable unknown. Yeah. And there's a part in it that I think you wanted to nitpick on, which is she's walking through like sort of this dreamlike area where
because water has memory.
a theme in this movie that's introduced as a joke. Weird. And all these like ice statues are of her memories, and other things from history are reenacting. And at one point, an ice memory of Elsa singing "Let It Go" appears, and to which real Elsa looks and kind of goes like, "Ugh."
She cringes.
Like she cringes. And yeah, it's a strange.
And there's also a moment
reaction.
earlier in the film where they're playing charades together, and they're like Anna is being a villain, but she's like the word is villain, and she's acting out Hans, and everyone's like joking about like, oh, so obvious, like, you know, could have like seen it coming. And then Olaf does like a quick fire round, and one of them, he just does this like saucy look and like wiggles his hips, and they're like, Elsa, and it's like this weird cynical like, look, we didn't like the first film either. Like, it is that kind of thing, and there's a weird cynicism to films these days. And yeah, it's like there's the cult pop show video essay about like meta being the future or the current sort of era of comedy, and I think it's an element of that there's this there's the sense of like distancing yourself from something by saying like I'm making fun of it first, so you can't. And like Spider-Man No Way Home does this as well. It's like the MCU gets a bit of flack for this as well. Is that like like, I mean, it's in the trailer for No Way Home, but it's like where they were like, what's your name? Otto Octavius, and like, no, seriously, come on. And there's a bit in the film where they make fun of like the villain origin stories, and I mean, there's like endless examples of this kind of thing where it's like making fun of the source material, and Frozen 2's case,
Deadpool making fun of Green Lantern.
Yeah, and in Frozen 2's case, the source material is Frozen 1. But it's and I think this is kind of why, and I don't know, it's one of those things I'm just kind of getting sick of. And it's like, especially when Let It Go is such an earnest moment in the first film, to then go, ugh, yeah, aren't we all sick of that?
But it's not even a joke in Show Yourself when she cringes at Let It Go. It's not. It's maybe it was intended as one. I don't think it reads as a joke. I don't.
It's quite a sad moment.
Yeah, but Elsa's such a serious character. I'm not gonna like, if she had reacted a little more viscerally, it would have been like, oh yeah, that's clearly a joke. But it just
vomited.
Well, no, it's similar to Let It Go itself. It's an earnest moment of regret almost.
No, yeah, I think it's 100% like a joke. It's a little, because it's quite a quick moment, and it's there for the parents who got sick of it, but which I guess is like, it's a fun little thing for them. But yeah, there's just this like the most powerful moment in your first film being like, yeah, that was pretty lame, wasn't it? Anyway, here's this and like, pales in comparison version of it. But I think that part of that is like why the Fast and the Furious series works. This whole thing I'm talking about, the cynicism, is that like Fast and Furious takes itself so seriously and respects every decision it makes. You have Tyrese Gibson occasionally be like, hey, shouldn't we have died by now? But it's like, he's the wisecracking character. You never have like the series making fun of itself. And it's like, and I think that on some level, that's actually kind of what people are responding to.
Yeah,
is that like that earnestness, and that's why Fast and Furious does so well when something like Transformers doesn't.
When something like Frozen 2 just makes nearly $2 billion. The final song in the film, again, a weird last song, if only because of how early comparatively in the movie it happens, is called The Next Right Thing. It's sung by Anna, and my god, this is a forgettable song.
Don't even remember
it has no identity. It doesn't have a rhythmic hook. Like, I can't sing it to you because I can't remember anything about it. It's just during a vulnerable moment she sings about having to do, just not giving up, to do the next right thing. Yeah, so it's another weird ending song, but for a completely different reason, to Fixer Upper. So that's the two films in their, through the lens of their soundtracks.
Yeah.
Do you have any general comments to make?
Yes. It's worth mentioning as well that Demi Lovato did the pop version of Let It Go, which I quite like their version, and I saw them live a few years ago, and they played it, and it was fantastic.
It was good?
Yeah.
Nice.
It was great. Demi Lovato was fantastic live, I'll say it.
What other songs got done from the first one?
I don't know. There was a
Casey Musgroves, I think, does Some Things Never Change.
Oh yeah, of course.
Frozen 2.
Casey Musgroves. How could I forget? No, it was just that one for the first one.
I live with indie kids, okay, and they were very excited when Casey Musgroves' version started playing.
But they, there's also, but like, so the Adele Dazeem version was also released as a single kind of thing.
Do you mean Tina Menzel?
I know what I said.
Very good. So, Richard, I've now got yours and mine. Yours and my favourite section of the show, randomly placed useless statistics. Are they still randomly placed? Who's to say? I actually very strategic about where I place them. So this is a little segment where we go through all the franchises we've covered on the show and look for fun little idiosyncrasies. Made a lot easier with our Letterboxd Pro account, which lets us look at stats, so I can tell you things like Frozen is our 4th Kristen Bell franchise.
Nice.
With Frozen 2 being our 6th and 7th Kristen Bell films after so every film, not just franchise.
Okay. She's in the Muppet. She's in one of the Muppets. Is she?
No, I don't have that.
Okay. She's in Forgetting Sarah Marshall and Get Him to the Greek.
Mm-hmm.
She's a very brief cameo in Get Him to the Greek.
Mm-hmm.
She's in how many? So there's 5 other ones.
Yeah, there's a 2-film franchise that she's very obviously in that you haven't said. Also stars Mila Kunis.
Oh, Bad Moms, of course. And then there's one
Bad
more.
Mums and Bad Mums Christmas.
Yeah.
She has a completely... I'd forgotten Sarah Marshall was in Scream 4. She has a cameo in Scream 4.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Frozen 2 gives us our 4th Alfred Molina franchise after appearing in Monsters University, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Spider-Man 2. And once again, trailer spoilers for Spider-Man No Way Home, I guess the MCU is now technically an Alfred Molina franchise, meaning Frozen is arguably our 5th Alfred Molina franchise, if you count MCU and Spider-Man as being...
Separate,
whichever arbitrary way you want to.
Who gives a shit? None of this matters.
Frank Welker, who is voice actor, famously does a lot of animal voices, or at least, so Frank Welker, either in person or just his voice, makes his 28th credited appearance.
Wow.
Because he goes uncredited in a lot of movies, including Frozen 1, which is not part of the 28. But... He is credited in Frozen 2, but he has previously shown up in Shrek Forever After, Toy Story 2 and 3, The Little Mermaid, Gremlins 1 and 2, Transformers 2 to 5, the live-action 101 Dalmatians, Cats and Dogs, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, Lady and the Tramp 2, Scamp's Adventure, Stitch the Movie and Leroy and Stitch, 4 different Land Before Time movies, which are 3, 4, 11 and 12, the Jungle Book Mowgli's Story, that piece of shit low budget live action one that we had to watch, as well as presumably live action appearances in Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Santa Claus, Godzilla 1998, and The Nutty Professor 2, The Clumps. So good on him. Hard worker. And finally, and maybe more significantly, Chris Buck and Jennifer Lee make the 400th and 401st directors that we've covered. So have directed a film that has been on the podcast. They both directed both films, though. Like, it wasn't Chris Buck directed one and Jennifer Lee directed two. They both directed each. So would it be more accurate to say they are both our 400th director?
Ooh. But then we've had, if you're counting that, then we would be at least, because
there've been other double directors.
Ones,
or is it just we go from these are our 400th directors and the next one is our 402nd director? Yeah. All right. Well, what do you think of that? Do you have any that you picked up on? Any fun not dumb IMDb trivia? That's next though.
This is our first Frozen franchise.
That's not true. We've done Snow Buddies.
Yeah.
Dumb IMDb trivia. If you go to the IMDb trivia sections for almost any movie, you are bound to find some of the dumbest fucking shit you've ever read. Whether it's written poorly, whether it's not trivia, or in some cases, including the first one that I'm going to read, while written stupidly, also made me go like, is that true? And so I feel dumb because I don't know. And there is a lot of this. There's a lot for Frozen 1 that I've written down, not so much Frozen 2. But here's the first piece of dumb IMDb trivia for Frozen 1. The characters of Hans, Kristoff, Anna, and Sven are references to Hans Christian Andersen, the author of The Snow Queen, which is the inspiration for Frozen.
Snow Cream.
Say the names quickly in sequence to hear the similarity. Hans, Kristoff, Anna, Sven.
Yeah.
I know, because I remember
Did you not know
this.
that?
No, because I was watching. I was like, it's interesting that they named the villain Hans when that's the name of the author, and then I was like, oh, right, because there you can read like other pieces of trivia of like why characters were named certain things, so it doesn't feel like this is maybe the only reason why, and it's also like not even all of the main characters. You're missing Olaf and Elsa, but like. Yeah, okay, Hans Christoph Arnesven. Similarly, Olaf's name is a clue to his character's purpose in providing comic relief. It can be interpreted as reading Olaf. There you go.
Yeah.
In early designs, the giant snow monster that Elsa creates was a giant version of Olaf, who addressed him as little brother. But it was later decided that although it was cute and kind of funny, it ultimately looked a bit dumb.
Yep.
Kristen Bell
Is that our
improvised...
first piece of dumb IMDb trivia that actually contains the word dumb?
Maybe it is truly dumb. It is truly dumb. Kristen Bell improvised the line, "Wait, what?" that Anna says at one point during her first meeting with Hans. What incredible improv skills, saying, "Wait, what?" In the song Love is an Open Door, when Anna says, "I see your face," it hints that she does not see the real Hans, but only the face he shows to the outside. Da, da, da. Aside from Rapunzel and Flynn from Tangled, no other Disney couple appears in the film. The trivia is that they appear in the film, not that no other appears in the film. Why would other couples appear in the film? Before the song Love is an Open Door, Hans promises Anna that he will never shut her out. Later in the film, after his betrayal, Hans ironically does the exact opposite. He locks the dying Anna in the study. In the scene where Anna is dancing with the Duke of Wesselton, he claims to be like a chicken and briefly does a chicken dance with his hand on top of his head. This is the same chicken dance done by Lindsay Bluth on Arrested Development, in which Alan Tudyk, who voices the Duke, has a recurring minor role as Pastor Terry Veal. Alan Tudyk also went on to voice Hey Hey, the chicken in Moana. So he plays a chicken after doing a chicken dance after being in a show made famous for a chicken. Well, it's a famous chicken dance.
Made famous for a chicken dance.
And also in Love is an Open Door, they go, "It's crazy. We finish each other's sandwiches." That's what I was going to say, and that's arguably also a reference to Arrested Development because it's a joke in Arrested Development. Why, if it is Frozen referencing Arrested Development? That's my question. What on earth is the point? What they're not related. They're not part of the same. It's just strange. Which leads me to think it'd be. I think it's a coincidence until Alan Tudyk played a chicken, and then I'm like, okay,
he's got a chicken thing going on.
Okay, here is maybe one of my favorite pieces of trivia I've ever read on IMDb. It is dumb, but it's also like the beautiful, juicy kind of trivia you hope to find in these sorts of things. Here we go. The words door and anymore form a rhyming couplet 5 times in different songs in Frozen. Once in Do You Want to Build a Snowman, the line is, "I never see you anymore, come out the door." Then in For the First Time in Forever, "The window is open, so's that door, I don't know why, I don't know they did that anymore." Then in Love is an Open Door, say goodbye to the pain of the past. We don't have to feel it anymore. Love is an open door. And then Let It Go, can't hold it back anymore. Let it go, turn away and slam the door. And then for the first time in forever, reprise, please don't slam the door. You don't have to keep your distance anymore.
That's so funny.
That's hilarious. What a fantastic piece of dumb IMDb trivia.
Yeah.
My life, it's stupid, but my life is richer for reading it. And then halfway down the IMDb trivia page for Frozen, we also get all of the songs in the movie were written by the same people and on the same day. That is why the songs all have a similar melody and some have the same rhymes, such as Door and Anymore. Which I don't know if that's true if they're all written on the same day. That doesn't sound real, but I thought it was funny that the Door Anymore thing comes up again.
Yeah. They're like, we have to get this done by 5. I just Door Anymore. Give me a word that rhymes with door anymore.
You said that last time! For Frozen 2, Idina Menzel's second sequel. She will reprise her role as Nancy Tremaine in Disenchanted. That means this is her first sequel.
Yeah.
Unless she's already done 2 and Disenchanted will be her third sequel. If that's the case, it's not written very, very clearly. Walt Disney Animation Studios' first sequel to be a musical of characters breaking into songs 3 or more times at random moments. What kind of fucking niche? What are you talking about? Is that not just a musical? Am I missing the qualifiers here? Is there there's categorized it so much that it's true, and it's well, what? Are there other Disney sequels where the characters break into the song 4 or more, or 2 times, and not at random moments? What are you saying? And in a piece of trivia, finally, a piece of trivia that would have taken way too long to write and corroborate, and means nothing. This is Frozen 2 is the 17th computer animated sequel to not be nominated for the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature after Shrek Forever After, Cars 2, Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted, Ice Age Continental Drift, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, Rio 2, Hotel Transylvania 2, Kung Fu Panda 3, Finding Dory, Cars 3, Despicable Me 3, Sherlock Gnomes, Hotel Transylvania 3, Summer Vacation, The Lego Movie 2, the second part, The Secret Life of Pets 2, and The Angry Birds Movie 2. It is not a piece of trivia if there are 17 things that it shares in common with, you know?
Yeah.
Then the trivia becomes whatever the inverse is. I want to know what are the sequels that have been nominated.
It is insane that it wasn't nominated for Best Animated Feature though. Like that. And I'm not saying it deserved it. Let's have a look what else was nominated that year.
Into the Spider-Verse won for that.
No, that was the year before. Toy Story 4 won that year. How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, I Lost My Body, Missing Link, and of course, our darling friend, Klaus. So I'm so glad that I Lost My Body and Klaus got those nominations, which would have seemingly been a shoe-in for Frozen 2.
Nice. There you go. Well, Richard, now we're going to do a newish segment on our show. It's called Meeting of the Elders, and this is related to our Patreon and our Discord. If you go to our Discord, if you go to our Patreon, patreon.com/cultpopture, and you sign up for our $15 a month Cult Elders tier, you'll be invited to a secret channel on our Discord called the Cult Elders, where we ask your opinion on the franchise of The Fortnight, and you will read your comments out on air and discuss them as we are going to now. And there's some good stuff this week from
not all the shit we had last time.
No, I didn't mean that. Paul says, I have a 7-year-old daughter, and why this is useful, I should say, is because there's a couple of parents chiming in, which you and I don't have that perspective, but my God, is that a needed perspective for talking about Frozen, you know? Paul says, I have a 7-year-old daughter and first watched Frozen with her when she was around 3. I was aware of its reputation basically as a little girl catnip before watching it, so I was pleasantly surprised when it turned out to be entertaining and an intelligent film, particularly compared to a lot of the nonsense she was watching at that age. Brent from the North Pole says, oh man, like I said during the watch party, I have seen this franchise so many times in the past 2 years. I know it off by heart. I hated Olaf in the first one, but love him in the second. Alan Tudyk can do no wrong. The first one is far and away better than the second, but even the second one is serviceable. I'm glad my son enjoys it, and I think it does a good job of showing female protagonists as normative, where they aren't helpless, but they aren't also over the top. Which is a really good point. I guess I was a little skeptical before that, renaming it from the Snow Queen to Frozen, to attract boys. I still wouldn't have thought little boys would be marketed these films, but I guess they are.
I do find that comment interesting as well, because it very much reads like they think that Alan Tudyk voices Olaf.
I thought that as well. Yeah, he doesn't. Josh Gad voices Olaf.
Yeah.
Paul also said, until my daughter was 4-ish, Elsa was very popular with her and her friends. It's kind of scary how effective Disney's marketing is. One friend had Elsa on everything and would dress up as Elsa at any opportunity, but had never seen the films. Her parents watched as far as the ship sinking and decided it was not suitable. These days, as a 7-year-old, Elsa is very uncool. None of her friends watch it or have the toys. They see it as something for younger girls. So they're losing the generation they sought to conquest almost. Pre from Michigan, Genome says Kristoff's Lost in the Woods throwback music video is the best part of Frozen 2. Agreed. And they also say, I haven't watched it since I saw it in theaters and it feels forgettable. The only things that stick out to me are that music number, the disappointment that it wasn't an Elsa coming out story. Again, there is room for a queer love story in Frozen 2. There's even a character that she meets in the Enchanted Woods that you could do that with. In a way that would feel very natural, and as in not going out of their way to put a gay character in something, which I'd also be okay with. But yeah, I think that that is valid too, that people were somewhat upset that they didn't confirm that Elsa was.
Yeah, there was a whole Give Elsa a Girlfriend campaign, but I think Brent then comments later on that it's not explicitly. That's not true, a lesbian story.
yeah. But that's not good enough,
Well, it's Disney gay.
But that's still not good enough. That's
still but it is yeah. I mean, part of it's like, remember when Crimes of Grindelwald came out and people were like, he wasn't gay enough, and it's like he was ashamed of how gay he was, and it's like, no, he's ashamed because he's in love with Wizard Hitler. That's the reason he's not going on about it. And it's like their relationship's going to be explored more. It's hinted
Are you
at.
Defending Crimes of Grindelwald.
It's this weird thing where I feel like I'm forced to defend it, but it's like the thing is, it's like that movie is like rich with things to complain about, and you're picking the weirdest thing.
I've heard you talk about J.K. Rowling with the most disdain, specifically over not making Dumbledore explicitly gay. And here you are, undoing all of that goodwill by saying, no, it's fine. Finally, Rizzo the Rat says, one of my good friends told me years back that they never saw Frozen and never would. I took it upon myself to change that. From 4,000 miles away, I conspired with her friends, all of whom I'd never met, to trick her into coming to a scary movie night, and then they put Frozen on instead. Then they told me that was the beginning of Frozen. They told me that the beginning of Frozen 100% works as a horror movie opening scene. Right, yes, of course.
There is also a horror movie that came out in 2010 called Frozen, which I remember thinking, oh, that looks interesting. And I think Edgar Wright put it as one of his favorite movies of 2010 because I forgot about it, and then I saw he put it on a list. But yeah, it's about people that are stuck in a chairlift during a day of skiing or after a day of skiing.
That's right, yes.
And then there's a pack of wolves underneath, one of these, it's similar to like Buried, and like I feel like there's a lot of like small budget claustrophobic horror films around that time. But yeah, that film, hard, it's, you can't see it these days because it's hard to, you have to troll through a lot of Disney stuff to find it. But one of the things that's like a fan theory about this movie is that, like, do you reckon Disney made a movie called Frozen so that when you search like Walt Disney Frozen, it doesn't come up with like him being cryogenically frozen? But it absolutely, if you type in Disney Frozen, even Disney's Frozen, it comes up, the top link is Walt Disney cryogenically frozen.
Their plan failed. That's my addendum to the fan theory. All right, well, speaking of things you have to trawl through, Richard, let's talk about Continue the Franchise. Let's talk about the many, many things that you can still watch and consume if you liked these two movies. It's mainly short films. You've got Frozen Fever in 2015, Olaf's Frozen Adventure in 2017, Myth, A Frozen Tale in 2020, and Once Upon a Snowman in 2020. There's also a new short series on Disney Plus called Olaf Presents. Came out just recently. No, I haven't, not yet.
I've watched.
They recreate.
It's the scene in Frozen 2 where Olaf recounts the story of the first one. It's that, but for the Lion King and the Little Mermaid. Yeah, right. It's a fun little. They're like a minute and a half each.
So maybe we'll probably do some of these for film franchise follow-ups this month, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know which one. You pick.
Take your pick. Who cares?
There's also a Broadway musical, some video games, and various theme park attractions. And there is a behind-the-scenes documentary on Frozen 2. Though weirdly, Richard, there isn't that much in the way of news for an inevitable third film in the series, which I would have thought would have been announced by now. Josh Gad recently said there is no need as of yet for Frozen 3, and it will only happen if there is a reason for it. And I'm here to tell you that reason is money, because I have no doubt that a third Frozen movie will make the series the highest grossing animated franchise of all time, beating out the current title holder, which is inexplicably Despicable Me, a franchise I've only seen one film in and don't know anyone who is a fan of. But I guess Minion Fever took hold so much that Despicable Me is the highest grossing animated franchise of all time.
Which actually leads me to my Continue the Franchise. It's a sequel to Frozen Fever called Minion Fever.
Okay, is that true?
Sure.
I was just going to say, Frozen as a franchise actually currently sits as the 5th highest grossing animated franchise of all time. Between it and Despicable Me, you've got Toy Story, Ice Age, and Shrek. However, the difference between Frozen and Despicable Me is just less than $1 billion. And guess how much a Frozen movie makes?
Oh, $12.
$1.5 billion, right? So, it's also quite impressive that out of those 5, Frozen is in the 5th place with only 2 films, whereas the other 4 have at least 3. So, like, this is a fucking profitable series that will no doubt take the place of Despicable Me once the 3rd film comes out. Although there is another Minions movie coming out, so
and it's going to be gangbusters.
And according
to the top 4 will have at least 4, not 3.
There you go. Yeah. According to the absolutely ridiculous Disney Fanon wiki, though, which is, I guess, where they make up shit, Frozen 3 will release in 2023 and follow Anna and Elsa and their family as they end up frozen in time. And awaken in present-day Chicago, Illinois, where, of course, the Frozen movies take place in the past, where they get help from a famous modeler to blend in and avoid being caught by the sheriff of the Chicago Police Department, who wants to find out the source of Elsa's magic. What a strange, even for a fan fiction, what a strange idea.
Yeah.
Like, it starts off, they get frozen in time. It's like, this is a standard Continue the Franchise. But, like, the specificity of Chicago and a famous modeler, like, what is this referencing? What is going on here? What's your Continue the Franchise? Is it Minion Madness, or what have you said?
Minion Fever.
Yeah.
No, well, I think, we're long overdue for another good old-fashioned crossover film, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And this obviously takes place in, like, Frozen sort of times.
Chicago,
so what if Sid and the gang showed up from Ice Age? Or The Adventures of Buck Wild, which is coming out very soon. Yeah, I mean, you could cross this over. Like, Shrek would also make just as much sense to cross over with in terms of, like, time period.
I mean, they're owned by different companies as well.
Owned by different companies, but, if we can have Spider-Man in the MCU, we can have Shrek and Elsa hanging out.
All right. Well, my Continue the Franchise is similarly similar idea.
Similarly stupid.
Yeah, I didn't want to be mean. The Frozen Switch, Richard. Elsa switches places with a commoner who looks just like it. But then the commoner ends up having burning powers. I didn't say fire powers because she doesn't have water powers. So the commoner has burning powers.
Yeah, because the second film makes it explicit that there are 5 different elements, like fire, water, earth, wind, and ice, which is just water.
Gas needs to be an element. Give me... Oh my god!
Cold
Frozen
air.
3 should be the gas one.
Yeah, just real farty.
Gassy. It's called Gassy. It starts off with like hey hey and then you just hear a fart.
Yeah.
All right.
And
that's my continued franchise.
Like,
Gassy.
Very funny joke.
Very good. Lastly, Richard, on the episode, well, basically lastly, we've got a ranked at franchise over on Letterboxd, everybody. If you go to our Letterboxd, you'll find a list that we've made called FFF Ranking, where we've ranked the 143, now 144 franchises that we've ever covered, and now we're going to rank Frozen amongst those. So in terms of how it works as a franchise, I would say we're quite comfortably above the Nymphomaniac constant. Would you say that?
Yeah.
Yep. Which I can never remember where it is, but it's probably lower than where I am now because these are some horrible franchises. Okay. Yep. All right. So I'm thinking let's go above let's go between National Treasure and Blade.
Let's do it.
There you go. So it is the 53rd best franchise we've ever watched. Thank you for coming to our show. And usually at this point so there's 2 subversions here. We're like Frozen. Usually at this point in the show, we'd either select the next franchise by it's not a Patreon week, so it'd be we'd randomly generate a number. But this is our last franchise of the year, Richard. It's certainly our last Christmas-themed episode of the year, which would usually mean that we take not a break, but a break from film franchise Fortnights. Yeah. But that is not what's going to happen because next fortnight, we're going to cover The Matrix. We're going to do The Matrix movies in celebration or in honor of the new one coming out and the fact that it feels like it's going to be pretty important to the conversation of franchises. And I haven't seen the sequels.
Neither have I, and I haven't seen The Matrix in over 15 years. So I'm actually not, I have no attachment to the franchise. And people keep asking me how excited I am for the 4th one or what I think of the trailer. And the trailer makes no sense to me. I saw the one that's apparently very spoilery, and I just went, okay, well, I don't know what's happening.
Well, there you go. So, while the year is over, if you like to compartmentalize our show into seasons, the season is not over. The season's going for a bit longer. Season 6 is going into 2022. There will be a break where we'll just put out a couple of Patreon sample packs or just like pre-recorded episodes, and that'll signify this is a conversation for internal pop shit, not really outward. But yeah, so Film Franchise Fortnights isn't taking its break just yet. We're going to do a couple more fortnights before we take our yearly break. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing to Cult Popture or following us on all the places, whether you listen to our podcast, whether you watch our videos or follow us on Instagram or Twitter, or just want to get in the Discord and share your thoughts on Frozen. You can do that. There is a link to the Discord in the show notes below, and join our Patreon if you want to support us. There's wonderful rewards like exclusive podcasts and telling us which films we should watch and all sorts of things like that. And you can also contribute to the post-credit scene, which is coming up just now after this music ends.
And you come back next week as well, because we'll be doing something. We'll get into the fun part of the year where our off weeks just become very silly. Now we'll be we've got some fun stuff coming up. So
yeah. Welcome along to the post-credit scene. This is a segment, I should say, at the end of each episode, where if you donate $5 or more over at patreon.com/cultpopture, you get to give us something to talk about on the post-credit scene. Richard, who's it from and what is their question?
Today's post-credit scene is the 100th post-credit scene we've done.
Oh. Suitable. Last film franchise Fortnights of the year.
Yeah, and it comes to us from Chris Brown. Not
Chris
the
Brown.
Christopher Brown.
Oh.
Who says, what is your favourite film that you think is better than the book it is based on? I know yours.
What is it?
Say it.
Cat in the Hat. That's not true.
I
feel like we get asked this. We've been asked this before, maybe, and I was reading it ahead of time to try and think of like a fun way to answer it. And I don't like a lot of people. Are you thinking Fight Club?
No, I was gonna say Blue Like Jazz.
I don't think the movie is better than the book. Yeah, I guess like Fight Club's the one that always gets tossed around, but
I prefer the book.
I'm so sure we've talked about this in the post-credit scenes before, like this exact conversation.
I'll give an answer. I think that. No, fuck. Okay, I keep thinking the other way around.
I did think for a long time in my youth I was sung the praises of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie, and I said I thought it was better than the book because it has the cool feelings gun in it that wasn't in the book. But I feel like that's quite blasphemous to say it's better than the book now.
Yeah. I probably enjoy the book more, but I can understand that it's worse. But Ready Player One.
Oh, very controversial. That's probably a go-to example for the movie's better for me.
No, yeah, that's the thing. This is the answer to the question. The movie's better than the book it's based on.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that's probably the common opinion, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, I didn't say it was controversial. You said it was controversial because you misunderstood what I was saying.
You need to stop with all these hot takes, Richard. You're going to melt Elsa's.
They're not. It's not a hot take. This is a regular take.
You need to calm down.
But the other one I was going to say that I thought of was Jurassic Park 3, but that's where the book, because Jurassic Park 3 is all the bits from the Jurassic Park book that they didn't adapt in the first film, but obviously the book is much better.
Right.
So it's hard. Yeah, I don't fucking read much, so.
Yeah, that's why this is a hard question.
Well, the thing is, also, I don't read bad books.
The Shrek movie's better than the book.
Yeah, but like if I'm gonna go through the effort of reading a book, it's probably gonna be good, you know?
Yeah, exactly.